Babylonian magic and sorcery being the prayers of the lifting of the hand, maybe this hand, by Leonard W. Knight, M.A., forward by R.A. Gilbert, which we will not read because it's the reprinting. The cuneiform text of a group of Babylonian and Assyrian incantations and magical formulae, edited with translations, and full vocabulary from tablets of the Kuyunjik collections preserved in the British Museum. And I don't really remember much about the discussion that I had regarding this text with someone from Afghanistan. But I do remember that this vocabulary list, based on Aramea, or Biblical Hebrew, as people would call it who can't read it, may not be the best medium, although the mythology could be closer than Farsi and stuff, but it may not be the best medium to understand these ancient languages. Perhaps a newer Persian language might be the thing. Now, Description de l'Egypte, 1809 to 1813, published by Napoleon's archaeologist. We have Madame Blavatsky's Isis Unveiled. We have Lenormand's Chaldean Magic, appearing in 1874. His Babylonian Magic and Sorcery, Leonard King's Babylonian Magic and Sorcery, R. Campbell Thompson's Semitic Magic, which we just got into, is an important one. Hastings' Encyclopedia of Religion and Ethics is a source to consider. And also E.A. Wallace Budge's work, Egypt and Chaldea. Oh, okay. We're just listing books. I'd honestly share all of Budge's books over the years if I could. But this index with all these tablets is wonderful. I guess there's too many. Someone might arrange a slideshow of the pictures or something like this because it is an old book. But we'll share them as the time goes by. But the preface, you can cut and paste and use the portions that you want in art and ritual. It's very good to have original text for this. I wish the last book we shared had that. For its the object of the present work is to give the cuneiform text of a complete group of tablets inscribed with prayers and religious compositions of a devotional and somewhat magical character. From the Kuyunjik collections preserved in the British Museum to these texts, a transliteration into Latin characters has been added, and in the case of well-preserved or unbroken documents, a running translation has been given. A vocabulary with the necessary indexes is also appended. The cuneiform text, which fills 75 plates, are about 60 in number, and of these, only one has hitherto been published in full. The extracts are passages previously given in the works of late Sir Henry Rawlinson, Dr. Straussmeyer, and Professor Bezold will be found cited in the introduction. It will be seen that the greater number of the text formed parts of several large groups of magical tablets, and that certain sections were employed in more than one group, as they appear here as the result of editing of the scribes of Ashurbanipal, king of Assyria, about 669 to 625 BCE, who had them copied and arranged for his royal library at Nineveh. There is little doubt, however, that the sources from which they were compiled were Babylonian. The prayers and formulae inscribed on the tablets, which bore the title of the prayers of the lifting of the hand, were drawn up for use in private worship, either of the king himself or of certain of his subjects. Some of the tablets are inscribed with single prayers. These appear to have been copied from larger compositions for the use of special individuals on special occasions. As examples of this class of text, K 223, K 2808, and K 2836 may be mentioned, which contain Ashurbanipal's personal petitions for deliverance of Assyria from the evils which had fallen upon the land in consequence of an eclipse of the moon. Eclipse of the moon and sun aren't really evils in themselves, but most cultures believe that. Unlike the prayers of many Semitic nations, the compositions here are accompanied by an interesting series of directions for the making of offerings and the performance of religious ceremonies, and they show a remarkable mixture of lofty spiritual conceptions and belief in the efficacy of incantations and magical practices, which cannot always be understood. In language closely resembling that of the penitential psalms, we find the conscience-stricken suppliant crying to his entity for relief from his sin, while in the same breath he entreats to be delivered from the spells and charms of the sorcerer, from the hobgoblins, phantoms, specters, and devils which his imagination has peopled the unseen world. The scientific study of the Babylonian and Assyrian religion dates from the publication of Cosmologie der Babylonier by Professor Jensen in 1890. In this work, the author grouped and classified all the facts connected with the subject which could be derived from the published text, and it was evident that no further advance could be made until after publication of the new material. It then became clear that the sciences could be best forwarded by a systematic study of the magical and religious series class by class, rather than by the issue of miscellaneous texts, however complete and important. Following the idea of the present year, Dr. Tolkvist produced a scholarly monograph on the important series called by the Assyrians Maqlu. It is understood that Professor Zimmern is engaged in the preparation of an edition of the equally important series called Sherpu. Since this little book has been prepared on similar lines and deals with a connected group of religious texts, it is hoped that it may be of use to those whose studies lead them to the careful consideration of the ancient Semitic religions of Western Asia. My thanks are due to Professor Bezold, both for friendly advice and for help in the revision of proofs. I'm also indebted to Professor Zimmern and a few private friends for suggestions which I have adopted. Leonard W. King, November 13, 1895. And one of the things in ancient times, including in where we call Israel nowadays, every king, well, not every king, but certainly a lot of them had a full rewriting of the scriptures for either the private collection or the priestly, or to teach the public or something. And one of the things that a lot of faiths have quite missed is, one, the distinguishing between revelation, inspiration, the scholarly works and other histories, sacred histories, secular histories mixed in the royal libraries and stuff too. Of course, secularism is more and more the case, although it's perhaps a little bit better to not lie about, oh, this God helped me and that God helped me and this God sanctioned what I'm doing. And let's be honest about that sort of stuff too. But we too can choose what we're going to use, but let's not do it psychopathically or sociopathically either.